Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to share some tips with you on how people overcome their fear of driving. I'm going to share what works because I've done other videos before where I talk about what doesn't work, but then I thought, well hold on, that doesn't really help, because if I tell you what not to do, it doesn't tell you what to do. So just in case you don't know who I am and what do I know about all this, my name's Paul and I've been a driving instructor in England for over 20 years. I've taught over 1,000 people to drive, including many who have anxiety. And I've also been a hypnotherapist for the last 5 years, where I'm specialising in helping people overcome their fear of driving, whether it's fear of speed, fear of nighttime, fear of conditions like this fog. And not long ago, you see I've got my sunglasses there, the weather was bright sun, I couldn't see a thing, and now it's all gone really foggy. But anyway, what works and what doesn't work? Well, I've noticed that one of the main things that people who get success do is they use their imagination. Now you might think, well, what's that got to do with anything? How can using my imagination help? Well, you need to understand that imagination is a language of the subconscious. Your driving anxiety, which has nothing to do with driving, which we'll talk about in a moment, it lives in your subconscious, or if you prefer to call it unconscious mind. So you will not overcome this using logic. It is not about thinking, how can I hold the wheel differently? Is it about speed? Is it about playing music? Is it about doing this, doing that? That's not what any of it is about, because as you'll know if you've watched my other videos, you know what I'm going to say. The fear of driving has nothing to do with driving. It looks like someone's had a very nasty crash here on this crossroads. Yep, the bonnet's all bent. That's nasty. That's one reason this is a stop. And it's not a driving lesson video, but you must stop dead. You don't have to put the handbrake on. But that's why it's a stop. Sorry, I'm kind of flicking from hypnotherapist to driving instructor there. But that's what allows me to help people so well, because I understand what causes it and what doesn't cause it. Some people might see that crash, I'm going to crash. And I'm not making fun of you. I work with people who would be terrified if they saw that, and they'd have to stop and get out of the car. And I'd say, it doesn't make any sense. Why am I scared of that when you in your videos, you just laugh at it or you learn from it? It's because you are being triggered. Something in your life is being triggered by seeing that. So the way you fix anxiety, as you may know from my other videos, is you don't cough, but you have to go back and find what these old things are in your life that have caused you to get anxious. And examples of what it can be are marriage breakups, money problems, being bullied, stress of any kind. It isn't a specific event. It's not just, it's always the same for everyone. It's different for everyone. So the way you overcome your fear of driving is you have to use your imagination to access your subconscious and throw out these things that have caused you to get stressed. So let me give you an example of when it would work and when it wouldn't work. There are many ways I help people in sessions, but I might say to someone, so I'm having to shout, so I'm coughing a bit. I might have to say to someone, okay, I want you to imagine something. Just imagine something. And people close their eyes, which I can't do now because I'm driving. But they close their eyes and they say, I'm imagining I'm walking along some cliffs. Okay, so you're on the cliffs. And what can you see there? Well, I'm looking out to the sea, and I can see the sea's all orange for some reason, and there's a massive ship in the distance, but it's got a huge sausage sticking out the top of it. Now, before I go any further, you might think, what? This is wacky. The point is, your mind does not do boring. If you are boring when you want to overcome your fear of driving, it won't work. If you sit there and say, well, I'm imagining myself driving and I'm in my car and I'm getting nervous, how can I fix it? You're boring. It's not going to work. You've got to be imaginative. You've got to say, okay, so I'm going to imagine this, make it up. Imagine you're in a house. Let's just use an example. Imagine you're in a house. Describe the house to me. Someone who gets success would say, oh yeah, so I'm in a big house. Yeah, it belongs to a footballer. It's got 71 bedrooms and the walls are bright white and there's a massive staircase going upstairs. And when I go upstairs, I can see all the trophies this footballer has won from their career. You're using your imagination. How does that allow you to fix the fear of driving? Because you're getting into your subconscious. You're accessing your imagination, which is where all the crazy thoughts about I can't drive live. I wish I could speak. So, I often film my videos in the morning when I've just had breakfast and I've had milk or whatever, so it clogs my throat up. Anyway, let's just get on with this. If you are imaginative, it works well, okay? The way you don't do it, the way you get to fail, is to be boring. And you just say, oh, it's a house. It's a big house. I don't know, it's a house, I can't imagine. You're not going into your imagination. You're not living in the same part of your mind as a problem. So you're not going to get anywhere. And the more you talk about driving, boring stuff, like everyday stuff, logic, why doesn't it work, why am I scared, why can't I drive, you won't get anywhere. You've got to be prepared to suspend all of that. You've got to get wacky and get weird. And people who've worked with me and had success would say, that was weird. What was all that about? Why was I thinking about this house and bananas and all this? Because you're using your imagination, which then puts you in the same place as your problem. You will not fix a fear of driving or any other kind of anxiety with logic. And I know this because I'm a very logical person. Like I was just saying about when I have breakfast, sometimes I have milk and it makes my throat go clogged up. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe it's just because I've always had a rubbish voice. It's just, that's how it is, right? Don't be too logical, because you get what you call analysis paralysis. You analyse things to such an extent, you just paralyse yourself with all these thoughts, and then the fear comes up. So the point of this is, you've got to use your imagination. Be prepared to let go. Really let go. Let your hair down. Go crazy. Imagine weird stuff. Because the more you use your imagination, the more you're going to experience the emotions you do when you drive. Think of it like this. Have you ever seen a film? Everyone must have seen a film. I defy anyone to watch this video and say you've never seen a film or a movie in your whole life. Of course you have, we all have. You must have at some point. There's the sun I was talking about. This is weird weather. It's blinding sun with dense fog. Anyway, when you watch a film, you know how sometimes you get quite sad. You might have even cried because a character died. The point is, you knew that character wasn't real. You knew it was just an actor, an actress, could be a CGI. Unless it was based on a true story, that's different. But let's just say, you're watching a film about robots and you start crying because one of the robots dies. It's not even a real robot. So why are you crying? Because you're in your imagination. Films hypnotise you. Music hypnotises you. That's how you fix your emotions, because you go to the place where your emotions are and then you communicate with them using hypnosis. So the point of all this is, if you want to fix your fear, you've got to accept it's nothing to do with driving, it's nothing to do with logic. You've got to get wacky and visit the part of your mind where the problem lives. And that's what I help people do. I give people methods and techniques that allow them to get wacky and get weird. But sometimes I work with people and they are too logical, and they just sit there and say, well, I want to fix my fear of driving. What's it about? And they're just very straight-faced and plain, and you will not fix it like that. You've got to let go. So one of the biggest tips I can give you, if you want to enjoy your life, you've got to let go. You can't be boring and dull and talking about numbers and figures and logic and facts and statistics. It's not going to work. Open up your imagination and you are far more likely to succeed. Why do people not do that then? Why is it that people like myself, because I'm like this, I used to be like this, why do they not do it? It's because, quite simply, it's a bit like Pandora's box. They're scared of what's going to come out because they know they've got stuff in there that they don't want to come out. And I'm like this. I know I've got stuff that I had never spoken about for years until I did therapy myself. And when it came out, it was horrendous. It was one of the worst weeks of my life. That was absolutely horrible. I remember just feeling like weird and numb for about a week. I went walking through a forest, and I remember I just didn't know what day it was. I didn't know what was going on. I was crying, I was happy, I was excited, I was sad. It was awful. And for the first time ever, I told someone this stuff that I'd never told anyone before, and it was absolutely horrific. But I did it, and it releases a lot of energy, and I became a better person for it. Didn't fix everything, but it helped me a lot. And it was really hard to do. But the people who get success are the people who are willing to do that. The people who are not willing and they're like, oh, I think I'll give it a go. I think maybe I'll try. Not going to work. You've got to go for it. You've got to jump in feet first. You've got to be willing to think about anything. And I often say to people, if you want to fix your anxiety for free, here's what you can do. I want you to think of the things in your life that you really don't want to think about. Yeah, those things that you know, the things that have happened that you hate thinking about, that you've never told anyone about, the dark things that you really don't want to go there. You got to go there, think about them, focus on them, bring them up, bring the emotions out, and that can release your fear of driving. But why? How does that work? Because when you're driving, the driving is merely the trigger. The driving isn't the problem. The driving is just a way that you set the problem off. Why? Who knows? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Everyone has their own thing. I have a thing that when I do makes me feel a bit anxious. I've worked on it. You can't get rid of it, but I can put it down to a level where I can manage it. That's just the way I release stuff. It's not driving. I love driving. But for you, if you've always loved driving and now you don't, it can be a bit weird. People say, well, I've loved driving for years. It can change for anyone. It could happen for me. I could have driving anxiety. And that sounds crazy, considering what I do and all the adventures I've had on the road. I could have it. No one is immune to this stuff because sometimes it just happens. People sometimes ask, will it come back? We need to understand it never really comes back because it never really goes because you never really had it. What you've got is a trigger. Driving is a trigger that sets off old events. So if you drain the energy from those old events, like I just spoke about, let it go, then it won't trigger, because even if you think of those things, the juice has gone, the energy from them has gone. So even though you might have a slight flutter of, oh, you know, I'm driving, oh, I used to get nervous, but the energy from what made you nervous has gone. So it won't fire off because it's not there anymore. So it doesn't really come back. But when people say, can you guarantee it will never come back? No, because driving anxiety is when you think about things. So if you want me to guarantee it will never come back, you're asking me to guarantee that you'll never think about anything for the rest of your life. No, you can't guarantee anything. It's very rare for it to come back, but it can at stressful times. I've worked with several people over the years who've had success, and then they've come back months later saying it's come back. And I'll say, oh, what's happened in your life? And they say, oh, well, one of my parents died. Well, there you go. You've had a stressful time. And the theory behind this doesn't happen to everyone. I'm not saying it will, but it can happen. The theory is that you what we call revert to type. It's like you, when things go wrong, like look what happened in 2020, lots of people run back to what's familiar. You go back to your old job, your old house, you go back to what you know is comfy, like when you've got a pair of shoes like the ones I've got on now. I've had these shoes for over 10 years. And even though I've got a brand new pair at home, which I bought about 6 years ago, just sitting in the box, brand new, never used, exactly the same. I just like my old comfy shoes, because sometimes you just go back to what's familiar, don't you? Well, if you've had anxiety for years, that's familiar for you. So as crazy as it sounds, your mind runs back to what's familiar, driving anxiety. Why it does that? Because you want what's familiar, even though it hurts you, like people who smoke. Most smokers say, look, I know it's killing me, I know it gives me cancer and all that, but I just can't stop. Because logic won't work. It isn't logic, it's because, like with anxiety, they've got a reason for smoking which their mind clings onto. And it doesn't matter how bad it is for you. With smokers, it's often about social acceptance. I'm not going to get too much off topic, but it's all very similar. Maybe they got picked on at school, so they smoked to be in the cool gang, and their mind 30, 40, 50 years later still thinks if you don't smoke, you're not going to be accepted, and that's bad because you'll be an outcast and you'll be sent out on your own into the wilderness and you'll die because no one cares and there's no food. That's how your mind thinks. Makes no logical sense, but that's how you think. I've got to be in the gang, I've got to speed like everyone else does, I've got to drink like everyone else does, even though I don't actually like it. I've got to smoke, even though I don't like it, because I've got to be accepted. And when you break that, you break the connection. That's how you fix your problems. Smoking, driving, it's all the same thing really. You just break the connection, you re-educate your mind, and that's how you do it. So, I don't know how long this video's been. I'm just making this up as I go. Again, this is my subconscious talking. I don't plan bullet points of what I'm going to say in these videos. The sign of someone who really knows what they're on about is they can make it up as I go. They can wing it. If you get people who sit there with a written bullet point list of what they're going to do in a session or in a video or whatever, it's never going to work. Driving instructors, we have to make it up as we go. That's where my skill comes from. You can't plan a route. The road's closed. Your route's gone sailing down the river. Now what are you going to do? You've got to adapt. You've got to be working out as you go. You've got to adapt to the client. Never go to someone who reads scripts. If you ever go to a therapist and they start reading you a story, you are lying on a beach. They're telling you what to do. They're not asking you to think of it. That's the difference. And you imagine yourself driving and you feel so calm and you are relaxed. All that rubbish, and they're just reading you a story. Rubbish. They are the worst kind of therapists who haven't got a clue what they're doing. Good therapists can make it up as they go. You could come up to me at a train station and say, hey, you're that guy off YouTube who does therapy. I've got a problem. Can you fix it? Yeah, let's go. I don't even need to know what your problem is. As long as you don't have any what we call contraindications, things like schizophrenia, bipolar, it can be dangerous to work with people who have those with hypnosis. Because hypnosis is said to make those things worse. Does it? I don't know, but doctors say no, be careful of that. I don't even need to know what your problem is. I don't even need to know your name. You don't even need to tell me anything. You can do it all in silence. And some therapists are like, how can you do that? Because I know what I'm doing, that's why. Good therapists make it up as they go. I don't have a plan, a script. I just come into a session and I just let's go. Like when I do a driving lesson, people sometimes say to me, what have you planned for today? I don't know. Let's just drive and let's see what happens and let's work on it. That's a sign of someone who knows what they're doing. So I hope this video has helped. Check out these other videos of mine on screen for more help. And if you do want to work with me one-to-one online from anywhere in the world, contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.